Hello there, folks. I'm Dan Brown from a sort of interesting life.com. You're joining me on board good old Narrowboat Tilly today for one of the Dan Brown monologues, my ongoing series of videos where I pick a random topic out of the stainless steel pan of random topics and talk about it for a bit. So I will say the usual introduction of if you've got any ideas for topics to go into the stainless steel pan of random topics, almost forgot the name of it in the third video then please do leave those topic ideas in the comments below. There's already ideas added from the comments in here, and I suppose without further ado we shall put this above head height, dive in and have a little bit of a mix around here and draw a random topic out. And what is today's topic? Why, the paper says win the lottery, which is short for what would I do if I won the lottery? And I suppose I was about to say I like the sound of this topic, but really, because I choose all of the topics that go in here, I obviously don't put topics that I don't like the sound of in there. There's certainly dark things and there's going to be scary things in there, but, well, what would I do if I won the lottery? Let's get back on track. For this topic, I suppose we'll say that when I say win the lottery, I'm envisioning like an amount of money that's so much that it is almost enough to consider sort of infinite to a certain extent, although you could certainly easily spend an awful lot of money if given the opportunity, I imagine. So I would say we'll say £100 million, 100 million quid if you will, as I'll probably be using the term quid a lot in this video, and for overseas viewers, a pound and a quid are basically just the same things, as I've definitely had stern words left for me in the comments about changing to saying quid all of a sudden, but oh well, there's my disclaimer now. So if I won £100 million, I suppose the important thing and the theme of this will be I would rather use that money to have experiences than buy lots of expensive stuff. It's very much would be a grander scale of what I've done with Tiny Tilly here and all that, living low cost so that I had time to have all the experiences of biking and boating and walking and all that sort of stuff that I love to do. But can you imagine what this YouTube channel would be like if I had a budget of £100 million instead of maybe £1,000 a year to buy a laptop and then think, oh, why did I do that? But really, in all honesty and sensible sort of getting the basics done, I think the first thing I would have to do would be go around my various family members and just dish out millions of pounds to all them, because if you've got 100 million, then you could literally afford to make you could give away 90% of that and still live extremely comfortably forevermore. So I would say I could probably easily come up with a list of maybe 10 to 15 people who would be close friends and family who would all easily probably be putting their name on the £1 million list. So I'd say that's your first thing. You got to take care of the people who have taken care of you, I would say. And just as a basic principle of it's the right thing to do, and I love these people, and I bet you're all watching this hoping that I win £100 million all of a sudden. Or really, I bet none of you will ever watch this video, and I certainly hope not. So I'd say that's the first thing. You've got to go around and do the right thing. And I suppose while we're on the subject of giving away money, I would definitely give a lot to charity, but I would want to do it anonymously, because I don't know if I would want people to know, first of all, I had millions and millions of pounds to begin with, just out of the basic sort of not having people treat you differently or any potential security issues based around, see him, 100 million quid in his bank account, let's get him. But you get the general gist of that, and I think I'd want to do it anonymously as well, because in those sort of extreme circumstances it would be even more vital than ever, I think, to control and master your own ego, rather than think, 100 million quid, I can do whatever I want, I'm going to make everything into a massive sort of, look at me, I'm giving loads of money to charity, and oh yeah, look at me, I've bought this super duper car that I'm going to drive around town and rev really loudly so everyone can look at me and go, look at him, let's get him. I would say that I would give to a lot of the local charities who are struggling, and things like Hope House, local children's hospice, and there's so many of these places that struggle so badly because nobody will give them any official funding from the government and things like that, that I think it's vital, and it's providing services that are impossible to provide yourself, and certainly in the circumstances that some people find themselves in if they need those services, that to me, the idea of being able to fund something like that anonymously, and rather I think than giving out a huge sort of bonus, like bumper payoff in one go maybe for less money initially, but more of a steady, like, right, how much does it cost to do this, how much does it cost to do that, right, then wipe out those costs, I'll pay for that for this year, next year, and do it as a sort of ongoing thing to give some of these places. Well, my friends, I'm sorry about that random cut there, but I got myself a little bit emotional in that little section. So, now that I've composed myself a little bit better, I'll say I think it would be much better and much more rewarding to be able to say, right, we'll fund you indefinitely or for the next so many years so that you can have that stability and security in whatever service they're providing, rather than go, right, here's a load of money now, spend it, go wild. And obviously I'm not saying that people would just go wild if they suddenly got that money given to their charity, but I think it's that sort of guaranteed input that you could say, right, you've got no worries for the next decade or something like that, so then all fundraising could go to the future and extra things as they come up and so on. So that would be my first thing. Friends, family and charity. And as I say, particular charities in the local area that I know do exceptional work. But moving on from that, I think when it comes to the actual sort of investment side of things, I would go not too crazy, but I'd obviously start buying up a little bit of property of different types in different areas, just so that you've got that security for yourself, that if the paper money value that you had suddenly became worthless for some sort of crazy hyperinflation or some reason that we couldn't foresee, then at least you would have all of the actual property and that sort of section of a little empire that you could build, and that could be your ongoing security. And one of the things that I would say that me and my friends have often talked about, and I always say that my friends who live up at Western Rin, I would buy them a house that would be a nice big house and pay for it all, and basically it would be my house that they lived in and their son could grow up in and all that sort of stuff. And the reason that I would buy them this nice big sort of country house or whatever it was that they wanted is because I don't think I would personally want a big house or anything like that to myself. And what I've always wanted is just enough money to set up something like that, sort out my friends and family, and have this ideal situation where some of my friends have a massive house that is basically all paid for and run by me, and then I have maybe a smaller house or some sort of other building that I can have as my own base, which I know I've got a friendly person over, like, looking over it all the time, so that while I'm off out adventuring and doing all the stuff that I want, I've got somewhere that I can call my own and that's separate, and I don't have to disturb anybody, or no, when I'm shouting at the camera going, "Oh, look at this, we've just been ballooning in Dubai," or something like that. I'm not disturbing people by shouting at the camera or anything along those lines. But again, take this all with a pinch of salt. These are just ridiculous examples I'm giving. But I would be happy, and I'd be happier to say, this is my house and my home, but it's part of somebody else's bigger property and their little patch of land in the middle of nowhere, or again, wherever was best suited. Then go, right, I'm going to buy myself a massive castle and live isolated on my own. And because again, just with little Tilly here, there's just nothing that I can think of that I would want to start buying that could take up a lot of room. And I don't know if it's true or not, but there's always there's a story that I've read about Steve Jobs, and I don't know if he bought some massive mansion that had about 40 rooms in it, and they were practically all empty for a certain time, and he had just a motorbike and a telly in one room, and that's how I feel that I would end up being, because of my sort of love of minimalism and not having loads of clutter and stuff. I would end up just having a lot of wasted space and rooms that you wouldn't be able to go in after years because nobody had stepped foot in them for a decade. But you get the general gist that I just can't ever see myself, even with infinite resources, going about the place being wasteful and just throwing money away for the sake of throwing money away. Although admittedly I'm saying that while I've got an Apple Watch, as I say, the most expensive toy that I have ever bought, basically. No practical purpose, but I still love it. I might go all the way to a stainless steel one of these if I had £100 million in the bank, but I would very much struggle to even part with that sort of money. So that would be my general setup. I have a base that was part of somebody else's house that I owned the whole plot of land and that. So that then I could really do what I wanted to do. Well, my friends, here's a completely random edit in this video. So, as I was putting it together, I realised that I didn't actually specify properly what my sort of travel plans would be. And really, if I had just an infinite budget, I would travel around an awful lot, not doing any sort of ridiculous massive expeditions in one go where I vanish off for months and months on end. But I would love to go in hot air balloons all over the place, from just the local area that I've grown up in to all sorts of different environments. Like, imagine going over the Grand Canyon or through desert sort of places over like these cities like Dubai and all of these different environments and seeing them from a hot air balloon just drifting around. It's almost like the narrowboat of the sky, and I just love the idea of that. I've always loved the idea of hot air ballooning, and I think all the usual things like bungee jumping and that sort of stuff over these different like bridges and dams and goodness knows where else, sooner or later I'd end up doing a lot of that. But something that I would absolutely love to do would be travel around a lot of the historic places, and particularly from the ancient world like Rome, Greece, all of those sorts of things, but not necessarily the specific things like actually Rome itself and in Italy, but going through France where you've got the various aqueducts and all of these ancient monuments dotted all over Europe, and just really get to see all of the places that for so many years I have read about and listened to audiobooks about, and it'd be a lot of that sort of thing. And again, you can imagine with that sort of budget, the camera that I would be taking with me to do a lot of filming on site. Right, we'll cut this little bit short here, but I just wanted to throw in some actual demonstrations of what I would actually do when I was away from me little base that I've been talking about. Right, let's get back to me a little bit earlier on. And really, it does come down to that. The three first things: friends, family and charity. Then get myself a little headquarters set up, nothing too wild or over the top, and have my friends living on the same patch of land so I knew everything was always okay when I was off and away. And then basically make the absolute most of what opportunities would suddenly become available to you if you had millions and millions of dollars going, well, to waste in a bank account in some respects. So, as Tilly was all about living a low-cost life so that I could live well within my means and not have to be at work all the time, so I could go out and have the experiences that I enjoy now and am easily able to do, biking and walking, being in the countryside, even sitting down writing and just doing all of these things that I love doing. Imagine taking that principle and instead of going, right, live as cheaply as possible so you've got as much free time as you can possibly want, and going, right, you've got as much free time as you can possibly want and you've got infinite resources. And I just don't know what on earth I'd end up doing. Like I say, there's balloon trips that I'd want to do all over the world. There's all sorts of places that I'd love to go off exploring. All sorts of different things that I'd want to do. Like all sorts of different historical places that I'd want to go. And I really do think that because I absolutely love doing videos and that, and been doing me YouTube videos, well, I've literally, it's a real shame that I haven't got these original files from way back like 2004 and so on. But even before YouTube was a thing, I just remember making a video once and it was all edited properly with different camera angles of the cat jumping up at the fish tank and had all different music that cut in when different stuff was happening. And it's just a shame that back then you had to either have a huge budget or basically a huge budget. There's no other way, actually. There's no option. Because the digital camera that I was filming all this on was, I think, a 0.3 megapixel camera for the pictures, and the video quality was even worse. So it was all total rubbish to actually look at. But thinking back, like I say, I mean, I've been on YouTube in different YouTube accounts since 2006, and here I am now in 2015, coming up to 10 years, and still doing it, doing more editing and more sort of hopefully well edited and produced videos like the short films and stuff like that. So as I say, you imagine throwing in an infinite budget and what on earth I'd possibly be able to come up with. In terms of Tilly and the canal, I think I would get Tilly off the water, maybe set her up and build her into like a little bit of the ground next to my headquarters and do her up so I could always have Tilly on hand to remind me of the whole basic principle of living simply and living cheaply, and everything being about the experience outside rather than possessions and the boat and all that sort of stuff. And what I would probably do is buy a slightly bigger boat that on the inside would be super up to date and modern. But if I was ever going to do any filming again, I would do it all anonymously so that you didn't actually see the outside of the boat. I'd do all the usual stuff probably, but I think the idea of just having that little bit of anonymity back in my life would be quite pleasant in some respects. Just imagine if I managed to disappear somewhere, go completely off the radar for a couple of months, and then pop up on YouTube with a massive documentary series of like 10-hour-long episodes with goodness knows what detailed and all sorts of travel and maybe getting into the sea on a boat and all that sort of stuff. I mean, again, I would just love the option and the ability to really get out there with no pressure, not working for anybody, just have a couple of people and friends maybe come out with super duper proper cameras, do a load of filming, and then just be able to sit at a desk with a super duper computer to just run through and edit all of the footage that we could accumulate on these trips, and well, hopefully produce some of the best videos I would ever be able to produce. But again, that's the simple thing. Apart from the experiences and going travelling and seeing all sorts of places around the world, there's nothing exciting to say as to what I would actually buy, because I mean, it just doesn't interest me to have super duper cars or anything like that. And again, the idea of having a massive house and things of that nature, it just seems like, oh, that's something that I've got to worry about. That's a bit of effort, that's a bit of a waste. And I would have things like that weighing on my mind rather than going, oh yeah, I've got no ties, I've got maybe a 5 or 6 room place back that's been specially built and got a little soundproof booth so I can shout at the camera at the top of my voice when I'm recording these videos, and really just enjoy doing whatever it would be that I ended up doing with 100 million quid. So that's what I'd do if I won the lottery. What about you? Until the next time, I'm going to stop talking at you now and say thank you so much for watching. Check out my other videos for loads of boating scenery and goodness knows what else. Weekly uploads, all that sort of stuff. If you want to support me, then please do consider checking out my short boaty books. You'll find the links to them in the description below, along with Facebook and Twitter. And, well, just add me or follow me on those things if you want to see loads of canal scenery and photos. But until the next time, keep it stainless steel pan worthy. Keep it boat worthy, and of course, farewell.